3,500 call on Tesla experiment for April the 28th of this month. I'm sorry, August the 28th. So this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks for taking time to join us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. Wanted to also thank our Patreon supporters as well as our subscribers. Much appreciated. I will admit we don't have the wind baffle going, and we're trying to create a little bit of a cocoon to reduce any and all wind noise. But I wanted to do a quick show today because Tesla stock price was up almost $200 today, and there's a lot happening with the stock. And we wanted to encourage people to think about some other things as ways to participate in this move if you're not loaded down with the cash to buy a stock that's $2,000 a share. So I was having a meeting this morning by phone with one of the folks in my trading group, and what he suggested was that he had gone out and paid $40 a piece for the 3,500 call on Tesla expiring April the 28th of 2020. After he went through the day, towards the end of the day, he reviewed what happened with this experiment, and he spent a total of $400. Each option was about $40 a piece. And the net of the whole thing was that he had $1,800 that he got on a $400 investment. So I was impressed by the number. One of the problems we're having in our trading group is the options and stock prices have gotten so high that it's very difficult to find something that might work price-wise for everyone, particularly folks who don't have a lot of cash to invest. Now, I am doing this experiment myself. I'm actually doing it with 3,000 calls for the 28th of April, 2020. And it costs more than that, but I believe that it's actually worth the experiment because you're buying something that's after the announced split on the 21st, and there's a whole bunch of delta or action that'll be happening pre and post split into next week as the split actually occurs, I believe on the 31st of the month. So the 28th isn't ideal because you want to get past when the split does occur, but in theory you could actually sell and redo your position if in fact you pick up some nice returns on it. So I kind of like, let's just choose 5 reasons why I really like this trade. The first one is it's beyond the split. The split happens on the 21st. There's expected to be a lot of action around that day because everyone has to get in to be a shareholder of record on the 21st to prepare for the proceeds from the split. The second reason I like it is that you can put money in, perhaps not buying a full share, money, $500 to $1,000, and in theory, get back double, triple, quadruple your money in 2 or 3 days. So that's really appealing that you don't have to break the bank and you could take a shot at it without potentially losing large amounts of money. The third reason I like it is that there's a lot of unknowns. So there are people who've been through this numerous times and they know exactly what's going to happen. There are new things that are occurring, but the issue is that it's kind of hard to win it if you're not in it. So for those who have the resources to be heavy owners of the shares already, congratulations, and you've made a lot of money. For those of us who are sort of catching up in that regard, this gives us an opportunity to at least get in on the action, even if the amount earned is nothing like what the early adopters have been able to achieve, given that may have been working with larger amounts of capital. The fourth thing I like about this is the fact that this does get us beyond the 21st, and I'm kind of amazed right now at what has started to happen and why it's important to sort of be involved with the stock right now. In particular, there are a number of entities that were previously very negative on Tesla that are now coming back with upgrades with 2,000-ish price targets for the stock price. And one would think that part of the reason for this is that there are certain people who have a large staff of PhDs that they work with, combined with large computing power, so they can start to sort of gather all that capability to go after creating what the future is going to look like and why. So it's our feeling that those folks aren't going to put those numbers out there for target prices for the stock unless they're confident that those numbers might come to fruition. And if they do, we get a really, really nice run in the stock price. So, for us, a fifth reason might be that it's been difficult to dial in how to deal with Tesla in this circumstance. There's something called fundamentals, or sort of basic value strategy of investing. And we kind of went past those numbers in the $1,400 to $1,600 range for the stock price. And we're sort of operating in a zone now where we do have large institutions that are sort of driving the ship, that have a good sense for how things are going to work. And, one would think that the movement of the stock price is consistent with them paying analysts for a very clear view on how to handle Tesla in the medium term. I wouldn't even say, I guess it's the short to medium term, because we're kind of working on what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks as the stock splits, and then what happens in the next 3 weeks as we enter this next zone. The last thing I wanted to cover today, and I've been studying aggressively because we saw some of it already, and we're going to kind of see an intense set of rounds on this issue. And that issue is, how do you deal with the delta? So if you're a trader of stock, you don't have to worry about how volatile the stock is. Probably half the people that watch our show are traders, and they're involved with understanding what delta is. So delta, or change, you have three components to an option. There's the amount of time before it expires. There's the delta, or the movement up and down, how fast it's moving. And finally, there's the proximity to price. So how close is it to the strike price? The further it is from the strike price, more challenging. Closer it is to the stock price, very, very lucrative. So what's happening right now is that we're heading into what I call deadly delta zone. So what does this mean? Anytime you have a major event like a split that's going to occur, earnings, big analyst announcement, these things are information that can move things. The biggest consistent mover of a stock price right now is obviously earnings, and then just before earnings are announced and right after it, the stock price may move slightly up or down, but because of delta, the option price will move dramatically in value in just one night. So in the last iteration of sort of this happening, when Tesla's earnings came out, it was announced that they were qualified for the S&P, and the assumption everybody made, including myself, was that the S&P would quickly make the move to bring Tesla in and everything would be great. The delay that we've seen has meant that a lot of people have lost money on those options because the delta was sky high in preparation for a big move in the stock price, particularly up. And when that did not happen, and the stock price fell, you had a large number of people who lost huge amounts of money waiting for the big upward push for the stock price that did not occur. So we have now a new, I want to call it could be a delta opportunity, or it could be a delta disaster. The open question is, will Tesla move dramatically up, or maybe even down, but we're thinking up, as we get the split done on Friday, and then the actual, in terms of day of record, and then the actual split occurs on the 28th. So those are pretty big events that are usually tied to delta shift. And the question is, will that shift occur at those points? If they do, a lot of people make money. If they don't, a lot of people lose a lot of money. So kind of with this delta disaster, one of the things that's been going on is the pros are actually selling far out of the money calls and puts as a way to take advantage of the situation. Because if you have huge activity going on it could be very lucrative to actually sit in a position where you can sell puts and calls and make money on those and get a premium rather than endure the risk of the delta event occurring or not occurring. So we think it's going to be a big push up for the stock price, kind of in line with what we've seen, but there's still a lot of unknowns that sit there. And so we're going to work on figuring out what we can about this, but we at least wanted to bring the conversation up, because if you do end up sort of trading in the situation, a hedge is appropriate, or possibly even a buy on the rumor, sell on the news process, so that you're not subject to getting blown away by the delta activity not being what you expected. So I guess the argument at the end here would be beware of the delta, because it can cut very deeply if in fact it doesn't go the way that you or anybody else had expected it to. So these are very exciting times. Congratulations on those of you who made money today on the up push of the stock. I feel like it was unexpected for me. I did get a little bit involved with it and made a few dollars, but nothing like some of the other people that we're trading with in terms of how successful they've been. So we look forward to adding fuel to the understanding what's going on if possible. Best of luck in your trading. You might want to experiment with some of these far out of the money calls to see what happens, because who knows, on a relatively small amount of money, you could pick up 2, 3, 4 times your money in 2 or 3 days. Wouldn't be a bad deal. At any rate, I want to thank you for your time. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Don't forget 25 leg lifts a day. Also encourage you to consider the 5-2 or another diet, a 30 or better SPF daily, avoid skin cancer, and perhaps the last one for today, maybe a couple of times to lift weights as a way to increase bone density. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to your comments. Best of luck this week in trading.